You are in Warriors Huddle with me, Bram, with me per usual, my master of all things video and sound, Maxime.
How's it going?
And Bree joining us after way too long, the former Golden State beat writer for the Bay Area News Group who covered the rise of a dynasty, a high-profile sports author who's contributed to more media outlets than you can include in a podcast intro, including Fox Sports Radio, Spectrum Sports, Net Television, and Sportskeeda. A guy who had an all-access media pass to the Wolves beating the Lakers' ass, and a close friend who I hope has some medical training on left hamstrings, Mr. Mark Medina. What's going on, Mark?
Bram, enjoying the NBA playoffs. One other line to add in the intro is the constant source of trolling through Bram Hillsman's text messages.
I mean, factually accurate, but I don't know if we want to start off with throwing rocks, Mark. The last time we heard from you, I got an 8-minute lecture about why the fucking Lakers were better than the Warriors. And last time I checked, they're not on the playoff schedule. So, I mean, I wasn't even going to say anything, and you're out here throwing punches during the intro.
I'm ready to throw punches. I mean, Maxime, as you know, Bram was throwing that out after the Lakers lost in the playoffs, Warriors advanced. And I had clarified that very shortly afterwards, on numerous Fox Sports Radio national shows, I said if the Warriors and Lakers would match up in a 7-game series, who would win? And I would say the Warriors, and I would break down the impact with Jimmy Butler with the trade, Steph Curry being Steph Curry, them being a better defensive team. So thanks for listening, Bram.
I hope we both know that I'm crazy enough. I'm going to go back to our last episode, pull the clip of what you said, and it's going to play right here.
Well,
so I don't know if you want to say anything
now. I did say it. What I'm saying is I amended those comments.
I understand what you're saying. Of course, I got you. Also, I think you know that the only opinions we care about are the ones that are expressed on the Huddle. So if it happened in other places, dude, I have not heard it in any.
It didn't happen. Yeah.
Yeah. Give me a real take on the Lakers. I can hedge. Obviously, they're fine. I mean, this Luka thing wasn't about this year. It's about the next 10 years. There's a reason we're all upset about it. But if I'm being honest with you, I'm a little gleeful because there's a tint in podcasts now of like, look, Nico Harrison's an asshole. It's not the right move. But, well, Luka can't play defense, and he is looking a little out of shape. So is any of that butt stuff coming up with Laker fans? You know, like how is Laker Nation doing with this Luka thing? Is there a little disillusionment, hopefully?
Not disillusionment with Luka Doncic, but yeah, the Lakers, as you know, if they don't win a championship, they are very disappointed. They're very upset. So to your point, Bram, this is more the long-term play, and the Lakers knew this. I talked about in the pod those long-term play. But this is still a disappointment. When you look at the fact that they repeated last year's playoff exit, losing the first round in 5 games, it's not acceptable for Lakers standards. I think that their definition of success this season, given the Luka Doncic trade, their defensive deficiencies, just trying to throw everything together at once, was they have to at least make the second round. Anything else that happens after that are, toppings on top of the sundae. So, this is very underachieving, very disappointing. Luka's not blameless. He was not Usain Bolt out there. There are also times that, this idea that he and LeBron James would be this perfect fit didn't always play out because we saw traces of Luka Doncic play the way he did with the Dallas Mavericks before Kyrie Irving arrived, where dribble down the shot clock, throw up a bad shot, or pass to a teammate just before the shot clock goes off. And that was unnecessary because you have LeBron James on your team and some respectable rotation players. But I think the larger points are this. They're not a good defensive team. The things that we saw in the regular season, that was a pleasant surprise of Jackson Hayes being a respectable defender and their wing defenders defending consistently evaporated in the playoffs. Yeah, JJ Redick had some first-year head coaching adjustments, i.e. the playing all 5 starters in the second half in game 4. But I think the bigger point.
This is incredible. The smorgasbord of opinions that I'm enjoying during this.
And I'm not done. I'm about to get to LeBron James here. I mean, you want me to keep going or should we just.
Sorry. No, please. I'll just be over here smiling. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, to Bram's disappointment, I'm not going to say LeBron James is washed or he needs to retire or he's a liability. But we did see signs that he's 40 years old. He's 22nd in his league. So fatigue got the best of him. But I think the bigger things is they got to get a better supporting cast. the Lakers knew this, but also the Lakers expected, because of Luka and LeBron, it would be better than the first round exit. So yeah, disappointing, but they're not going to blow it up. They're going to address the rest of the rotation players and go from there.
You've done the impossible, right? I mean, so look, man, Steph got hurt. Steph got fucking hurt. Well, I'm not even sure when he's coming back. We're in the playoffs. Our savior is not on the floor. I didn't enter this podcast with the plan of smiling within the first 30 seconds. I'm smiling ear to ear, Mark. So I appreciate that. A topic for a different time, because this has to turn towards the Warriors. But a thing that I want to explore with you is when I watched LeBron leave the floor, and it was sad for me. I'm being honest. It's not off the table for me that he might retire this offseason. And I don't mean that as trolling. I don't mean that. I don't have any inside knowledge. I don't know shit. But the fact that he didn't talk about it in the postseason yet, or that that wasn't the first thing on the fucking podium, and like he's played with his son, all this stuff, that if he did leave, I'd be sad. I wouldn't like it. But that's not a report. That's just a off the cuff feel to the Warriors. Yeah. So, I love having you on this show, man. I love having you on for 1,000 reasons. One of them is we do this thing, the off the court report, where we take advantage of your access and all these other things. But today it's going to be kind of a sad version of the off the court report. So Steph did not finish more than 13 minutes in game 1 against Minnesota. Productive 13 minutes, 13 points in 13 minutes. We look goddamn good, but then non-contact, grabs at the back of his left leg. It's reported, halfway through the second period that he's not coming back. Left hamstring strain, and then we've learned since with an MRI, it's a grade 1. And Maxime, we've got a take from Dr. Nirav Pandya of UCSF, friend of the podcast. We've almost had him on a couple of times. Here is his description just at halftime of what it means to have a hamstring strain and grades 1 through 3. It's a little dry. So we probably won't play the whole thing, but here's the good doctor.
Hello, everyone. It's Dr. Nirav Pandya. A lot of Golden State Warriors fans have questions about the left hamstring strain that Stephen Curry suffered that was just reported by the team in the game against the Timberwolves. Here's a quick breakdown of hamstring strains in general, what we in general look for in terms of grading injury severity, and what the general criteria is sometimes for return to play. Now, the first important thing to understand is that a strain is some degree of tearing of the muscle belly itself, or the muscle where it turns into a tendon, or the tendon itself. And this is typically graded into 3 general grades. Grade 1 is a microscopic tear, grade 2 is a partial tear, and grade 3 is a complete tear. In addition to grading, which is typically done based on an MRI, you can also look at other factors that help determine the severity of the injury, which is done by imaging. Number 1 is the number of hamstring muscles that may be involved.
You can count it there.
Where in the hamstring the injury.
So the information we've had since grade 1 could have been as bad as 3. I didn't know that it was tearing of the muscle. I didn't really like that description. It's got one of those things that kind of makes you squirm a little bit. But I'm glad it's grade 1. And what the Warriors have said is that they'll reevaluate. Not that he's back, but that he'll reevaluate in a week. And so, Mark, I'm going to go to you. I want to know your experience with covering this injury, what you've seen. Before I do, emotional response. Maxime, it happens. How'd you take it?
Not good. Not good. This is the first time that Steph has had any sort of muscle strain, so I'm very much not used to seeing him react that way. And when he starts limping around like that, I did not take it well. I was texting my boy Russ immediately, not having a good time.
It was like deciding to go big on a Sunday night, like going out to the bar on a Sunday night. And in the back of your head, you have to work on Monday. And like all of this is just going to come crashing down. Like they're winning the fucking game, dude. They won the entire time. It was kind of this runaway victory. They can't hit a shot. All I should be is super excited. But every time I tried to focus on the now, in the back of my head was like, Steph, this might not mean anything. There's work tomorrow. Okay. Mark, experience. Have you covered left hamstring injuries? And if you have, tell us about them.
Yeah, Bram, lots to unpack. Yes, I have covered hamstring injuries. To be clear, I don't think it's going to be to this severity because of the context, but the hamstring injury I covered was Steve Nash during his injury-riddled years with the Lakers. And that might be foreboding in and of itself because Steve was late in his career. Hamstring injuries are delicate, so you have to be cautious. But I think what's different with Steph Curry, he's been reasonably healthy this season, and he's been playing at a high level. Steve Nash, that season 12-13, he was missing so many games, different issues with his back, hamstring, all the above. But the thing that's tough about hamstring injuries, on the plus side with this, grade 1 means least severe, so you at least take some solace that could be a lot worse. Even though he's already out for game 2, 3, and 4, there's a chance that he could come back, assuming the Warriors would have to advance in the Western Conference Finals. But I think that they could do that against the Wolves. It's not guaranteed, but they could do that.
Sure.
The other tough thing about hamstring injuries is it's not a pain tolerance issue. Yes, you have to be an athlete that can play through pain and all that, but when they're weighing all this stuff, it's not about deferring to the player and what's your comfort level. It's all about the medical feedback. And so if you return too early, you're at serious risk of aggravating and make it even worse. And so Steph is a tough player. I know earlier in his career, as you guys know, he got the tag about all his ankle injuries, all that stuff. That's been behind him. I think talking to his trainer, Brandon Payne, over the years, talking to the Warriors over the years, they laud him for having a lot of good durability and toughness. But unfortunately, with this case, I don't want to say it doesn't go out the window, but it's not going to affect how quickly he can return.
Yeah. I mean, it almost works against him, right? The juxtapose it against with Jimmy Butler. When he gets the ass contusion, that's a pain threshold. First, it's movement. It's movement. You got to actually be able to move, but then it becomes pain threshold. You can't make it worse by playing. It's just, what can you do if you're out there? For Steph, you make it worse. You come back too early. If you play through the pain, if you try to test your pain threshold, what's going to happen is the injury is going to get worse. You're not going to be able to come back for weeks now. And so, that's why I meant it's almost an inverse deal. That's the second it looked like a hamstring. I mean, just from afar, from like stupid fantasy basketball coverage, I know that in a regular season thing, this could be 2-3 weeks. In the postseason, I'm sure it's round the clock treatment. And the second they can get any kind of justification, put them out there, we'll see it. So hopefully it's in a week, but not the best of news.
Yeah. And here's the other thing about Steph that is really difficult because it's Steph Curry. One, he's Steph Curry. So he's best player on the team, best player in the league, whole game changer. But the way he plays, if he doesn't come back fully healthy, like he can't play the way he plays, where he's constantly moving on and off the ball, creating shot, absorbing contact. His miles per hour on a court is out of this world. So that further illustrates if it was a big man, on one hand, yeah, you could be susceptible for more physicality. But one, Steph Curry, as you guys know, gets drilled, double teams from big guys, little guys. And two, he's moving all over the place where front court players, maybe they're stationed at the post. So, yeah, very delicate issue to say the least.
Fucking game 5 loss against Houston. Look, like we pulled it out. It's fine. But he plays 46 minutes in game 7. 46 minutes. And then 2 days later, a day without treatment, most likely. I mean, they're traveling from Houston to Minnesota. And so, yeah, I mean, this, it's practical reality, right? It is what it is, but I'll tell you what, let's turn it into something I like, okay? Glass half full, Mark, we're looking back at something we liked from game 1. I'm going to go to the one I was going to say to conclude the segment, but instead I'll open it with it. I like the Warriors' moxie. Here's what I mean. Steph goes down early, dude. First quarter, they aren't up huge. They're up, but it's a non-contact injury. Jimmy knows that's not the best of things. Draymond knows that's not the best of things. By the time he's in the locker room and not coming back before half, they have reasons to be worried, distracted, and not play. It's not what happened. They locked the fuck in. And then that wasn't the only time. In the fourth, okay, Minnesota comes back finally. And Edwards starts hitting shots. Naz Reid does to us what he always does to us. And the Warriors had every reason to let go of the rope. I think there was like 6 minutes left. And I know this. All right. So I had the pleasure of watching the game with my parents in the back. And I almost get pompous because I want to show off my basketball knowledge to my parents. And so I'm narrating every play in a way I'm sure they get annoyed by and nobody really likes. I know my wife doesn't. And the Warriors are up, 14-15, 10 minutes left. And I turn to them and say, you know what Minnesota wants? Minnesota wants to be within 10 with 5 minutes left. And then Minnesota got within 10 with like 6 minutes left. And me, I'm not on the court. I'm panicking. I'm like, it's done. We're going to lose. Not the Warriors. Moxie again. Big threes by GP2. Big threes by Buddy Hield. They had this, all the reasons on earth to be like, we're screwed and give up mentally. And instead they dug in. So there's the first thing I like.
Yeah, I like exactly what you outlined there. That not only did they win the game, but the way they won it, where they showed a lot of emotional maturity. I think instinctually everyone knew they had to elevate their game, and they did it accordingly. Jimmy Butler doing what he does, elevating his scoring, and not being a complimentary scorer, but being the leading scorer. Buddy Hield showing the very great version of Buddy Hield instead of the brick fest. And guys, like he's playing like he's like an all defensive defender. That's insane. And then Draymond Green really doing everything with his playmaking, defense, etc. Throwing some Kevon Looney plays. It's been great. I think the other silver lining, while I am very well aware it's one thing to do it one game and now you got to do it for multiple games in a playoff series, the fact that Steph Curry got injured early in the game as opposed to later shows that the Warriors can actually do this. Because it's one thing if Steph got hurt in crunch time, late in the fourth quarter, they have a lead. Okay, you can hold down the fort in crunch time minutes, some teams. But to do this for almost an entire game, I mean, that's in and of itself very challenging. So what this means moving forward, as we've seen a lot of times, including the Warriors in their history, when you lose a star player, easier to absorb that when you have the adrenaline rush, the roller coaster effect for one or two games. Harder to duplicate it long term. But I think there are some things that could go in their favor. Obviously, the Warriors have the championship experience. They still have good all-star and roster depth on the team. But Minnesota, let me be clear here. They are a respectable team. They're not just here by accident, but it's not like we're facing a team that's expected to contend. They're facing a team that's expected to contend for a title. If it was against Oklahoma City or Boston, maybe even Cleveland before. I don't know what's going on with this series, losing the Pacers the first two games. But those presumed contenders, I think it would be a much different conversation than Minnesota that's not expected to really go that far in the first place.
And we'll explore that. I got a bunch of prediction questions for you, a ton, because I need your opinion and I need your objectivity, and because I'm not super good with that. First, follow up on Buddy Hield, and Maxime, I'm going to throw it to you on a question that's been rolling around in my mind, and then let's get what you like. Yeah, but the Buddy Hield experience is unbelievable. In fact, here's a fun stat: he has hit the most threes in a 2-game stretch in the playoffs ever. 14 threes in the last two. 9 against Houston, 5 last night. It's just been unbelievable. In fact, one hell of a Klay Thompson impression, I don't mind saying, which leads to the question for you, Maxime. If Klay Thompson's watching, who's he rooting for in this series?
I saw you tweet that out last night, and I sort of puckered a little bit because it does seem like a damned if you do, damned if you don't, especially with looking in from the outside, really not after moving away from this. I do think that he's rooting for the Warriors, but I don't think that he's loving seeing Buddy Hield do a pretty damn good impression of Klay Thompson.
I think that the reason I phrased the question the way I did, there's a chance he's not watching. There's a chance he's not watching.
Right.
He's on a boat
he's doing whatever it is he's
right
doing.
now.
And now there's a 99% chance that this is projection just for me. But if he's watching, I call bullshit. He's 100% rooting for Minnesota. Like this season was a nightmare for him. Everything went the wrong way. There's no way this close to the competition. He's still hoping for Steph and Dre. Although I'm in the deep minority. You're right. We did tweet this vote out. And as of right now, 358 votes, 77% think Klay is still rooting for his brothers. Maxime, something you like or didn't from game one?
Obviously, I don't like the Steph injury, but I think if you could spin that glass half full in any way, which obviously we don't want Steph to be out, the Warriors played lockdown defense, and Steph is a very good defender, but it's almost possible that we're going to be a better defensive team without him in the lineup. Now, are the Wolves going to play as poorly as they play, or shoot as poorly as they're shooting in game one for the rest of the series? Probably not. And it wasn't until, Mark, I'm sure you would know this better than I would. I think it was game 4 that Anthony Edwards finally showed up and went for 45 or whatever. It's clear that he is an extremely smart basketball player. And so I have concerns about him starting to figure out some of our schemes as the series progresses. But game 4 is not game 2. If it takes him longer than that, we might be able to stretch this time that Steph is out, get one more win in these next 3 with that lockdown defense. That was the thing that was most exciting to me. It felt like down to Buddy Hield, who Kerr called a two-way player after that game one performance. I mean, even though he only had 2 points in the first half, he was playing legitimate lockdown defense on Anthony Edwards. It was incredible to watch, and by the end of the first half, I felt actually confident watching him play. I felt like, oh, Buddy isn't just out there having a good time. He's paying attention. He's rotating correctly. He's moving his feet. He's doing all the things they need to do. And then he comes out and starts hitting in the second half. It's like, holy shit, this feels sustainable, right? Look, he's going to have shooting nights where he's not as good as he was in game one, and like you said, Bram, in game 7 as well. But it's clear that he's paying attention in a way that he hasn't before. And maybe that's a testament to Jimmy Butler's inclusion in the lineup post All-Star break, and clearly the way their buddy cop comedy routine is taking off. It seems like Jimmy benefits from having somebody like Buddy on the team that he can sort of like rib in a way that Buddy then also takes to heart and learns from. It's the perfect alchemy dynamic between the two of them, and I think it means that it's sustainable going forward, and that gives me, kind of like you said, Mark, a little bit of optimism by how early Steph went out, that we actually might be able to win at least one more game. And if we're coming back, if Steph is coming back in game 5 with this series tied 2-2, I mean, I'll take Steph in a best of 3 series, at least 50% of the time. And I was going to come in here on the pod and say,
you guys really want to step on this prediction segment. I mean, really, you're just chomping at the bit. I promise you, there's going to be some fucking predictions. Just this is game 1 for right now.
All right, fine. Okay. The whole point is, my God, that was some incredible defense.
Mark, do you think the buddy cop pun was on purpose or unintended? It just happened to slip out from Maxime there, because I really hope it was unintended. I hope he didn't enter into that hoping to drop the buddy cop. But what's your guess?
I think Maxime improvised.
I think it just came off the cuff. What do you think, Maxime?
It was very smooth. It was very
smooth. It was like a first take.
Oh, this is the worst case scenario, because now either I'm like, yeah, I came up with that, or you guys are like, well, you didn't come up with it, and that's the only way it's smooth, because it wouldn't have been smooth if I'd actually. It's true. It's just I didn't think of it, but it does feel like a buddy cop movie, right? It's like the good cop and the crazy cop or whatever. It's like the other guys. That movie is incredible.
I'll be vulnerable to make you feel better, or maybe not to make you feel better, just vulnerable to be vulnerable. A long time ago, I think in LA, it might have been in LAX. I was wearing both a Warriors hat and a Warriors shirt. And a guy came up and asked me, hey, are you a Warriors fan? And it really fucking bothered me. It was like the guy, he was very obviously this sarcastic, fuck you, like, do you play for the team kind of thing. That's like 10 years ago. I don't think I'm now looking into the camera and I realize I've got a combo again going here. Both. I don't know if it's ever justified. I just like, is it too much? Can you have, like, during the playoffs, is there you're wearing too much gear, or, no, is it okay at some points to wear both the hat and the shirt?
Hey, I'm going to say that you're bordering on David Putty territory here. You may as well start painting your face.
That's what it kind of feels like. That's exactly what I'm worried about, Mark. It's like you're reading my fucking diary. All right, it is what it is. I'm going to race away from this.
Well, since we're in this conversation, you're the David Putty of Warrior fans. What's been the courtside fan experience like? Have you been heckling Dylan Brooks or anyone else in the Rockets since you've been at these playoff games?
So you may remember that, in fact, we talked about this last week, and it's a good transition into a clip we have from Jimmy. But so, yeah, man, I was close in that game 6 loss to the Rockets. I was very close. They could have heard me. I could have said something to Dylan Brooks. I've been in this really in-between weirdo place that I owe it to the audience to, like, have an ugly interaction. And then in a clip we're going to play very soon here, Jimmy talked about first the boos that he received in Minnesota, and then talked about some of the other nastier shit. And, that he heard that, and people need to watch their mouth. And it was like, it's a reminder that they're human beings. And it made me, Mark, very happy that I didn't say something ugly to Dylan Brooks. That, like, I wasn't that that I'm still on this side, that so far my biggest sin is too much gear, that I haven't said something that I'd like to take back. Okay. 2 last things, game 1, and then we move on. 1, look, Warriors defense. When you think of the Warriors dynasty, you think of Steph, which means you think of offense. That is not what this dynasty was built on. This dynasty was built with mucking up the game when they need to. This dynasty was built behind Draymond Green. This dynasty was built behind grit, and you saw that yesterday. They kept him beneath 40% from the field. They kept him beneath 20% from 3. They hounded Edwards. I understand that he won't have this game every time, but I'll go ahead and trumpet it that they did it this time. The Warriors D. And then Kerr, watching Kerr go from Phil Jackson in the regular season, where he's like, figure it out. I'm not going to call a timeout. I'm not, like this is the zen of this moment. You guys are going to learn through the fire here, to becoming Popovich in the postseason, where he's like, fuck this, tight leash, timeout now. Obviously telling them in the fourth quarter, you take every second off that shot clock before anything else happens. His hand is very firmly on the wheel. I love it. All right. Let's go to the prediction and looking at the series questions. So, Mark, what we normally get to do before the series starts is handle these series questions. You and I have done them 100 times. You, I, and Maxime have done them in past playoffs. But this one, because of the quick turnaround, we couldn't. Game one was already played. But I still have these questions, all right? And I should ask you right up front, can Golden State win this without Steph Curry? But I'm not going to ask that yet. Let's keep it to the end, okay? Let's ramp up to it. First question is elevator pitch. If you had someone in your life, you wanted to watch the game. All right, Mark, you're at the house. You really want to watch the game, but you have a guest over who doesn't give one shit about basketball. So you can't tell them like, oh, no, playoffs are on. They're not going to. That's not going to be it. What pitch would you give them to why they would care about this series?
Good question.
Thanks, man.
I got to think of the elevator pitch, because normally the elevator pitch is watch the greatest shooter of all time play. But since we don't have that in the short term, it would be watch one of the best defenders of all time play.
There you go.
Draymond Green. Watch one of the best young rising stars that calls himself the truth play. Anthony Edwards. Call one of the most controversial defenders that riles up the Warriors play. That's Rudy Gobert. So I think that's enough to go up 3 floors and convince a guest that they should stick around and watch the game. But let's be clear, in this hypothetical, I'm not inviting guests over when I got to watch a playoff game. But if they were to come by, I'd say, hey, you should stick around and watch this.
Here's my pitch. All right. Bad Blood, history, good movies. We get the cold open. We see the characters. We get to know them. And then we get those flashbacks and start to learn, wait a minute, there's way more history between these guys. They dislike each other for various reasons. And then going back to the present and whatever competition they're having, I give a shit. I remember why they dislike each other. A ton of stories like that, Mark. A ton. This one hurts to talk about. But one of them is the history between Steph and the Wolves. 2009 draft. Steph goes number 7. You know who had the 5 and 6 picks? The Minnesota Timberwolves. You know what position Minnesota needed? Point guard. They drafted 2 of them. Ricky Rubio, Johnny Flynn, neither of which are playing in any sport that I'm aware of. Like, I mean, yes, they're not playing basketball, but they're also not playing like pickleball or hacky sack. Nothing. They're out of the professional fucking sporting world. And Steph has since not only developed a legendary Hall of Fame generational player career, he is still torturing teams right now. If we had any shot at a title, it's because of what he's doing at 37. But that's not the end. There's huge history between Jimmy and Minnesota. So 7 years ago, Jimmy's playing for the Wolves, forces himself out in spectacular fashion. So spectacular, boys, I am not qualified to give you the description. I think the New Yorker is. Here's their description. Quote, Butler forced his way out of Minnesota at the start of his second season there. After asking for a trade, he skipped the first 2 weeks of training camp. He bridled at being made to practice despite his trade request. Quote, I have a real problem with authority, he later explained on JJ Redick's podcast. Continuing the quote, when somebody's telling me what to do as a grown man, I have a problem with it. When he finally showed up, he started yelling at the general manager, Scott Layden. Quote, you fucking need me, Scott, he said. You cannot win without me. Butler joined a reserve squad for a scrimmage, and they crushed the starters. He shut down the team's best players largely by himself when the game was over. His Timberwolves teammate, Jeff Teague, recalled, Butler took off his warm-ups to reveal his shirt and shorts with big holes where he had cut out the word Minnesota. This is for me, not the New Yorker. His shirt said Minnesota Timberwolves. It still said Timberwolves, and he had cut just giant holes, just cut out. You could just see his chest in there because he refused to have the words Minnesota on his jersey in any place. Continuing this, he bolted before practice was even over. When the other Timberwolves headed back to the locker room, they turned on ESPN and saw Butler already at home describing his discontent to the journalist Rachel Nichols. So ugly shit between them. That, for example, is why Jimmy got booed every time he touched the ball yesterday. And we finally get to a couple of clips I've been excited to play. Here is Jimmy Butler talking about the boos.
Some hype about you coming back playing here for the first time since 2021. Did you notice the light boos and the response?
That doesn't bother me. But people do have to watch their mouth. You know, it's cool with the boos and all of that stuff, but you calling people out of their names and all of that stuff, which I can hear.
What they say?
You want me to repeat it?
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to repeat it. It's not good. That's unnecessary. The boos, I get it. I understand. Let's just keep it at that.
Yeah, watch your mouth.
Thanks, little bro.
Okay. Couple follow-ups here. One, thank you, Minnesota. Please piss off Jimmy Butler. Whatever it is you're saying, continue to say. Say it as loudly as you can, because I feel like that's going to be on our benefit. But two, you know what makes their dynamic so great? Jimmy is constantly shitting on Buddy, but Buddy doesn't take it hard. He's fine. He's bulletproof. If you were worried about Buddy, if it felt like some of these things were hitting him in a nasty way, it would be unwatchable. You'd ultimately want to protect him, but that's not what's happening in any shape or form. That's not who they are. And Maxime actually on our YouTube channel created this great short of some interactions between the two. Let's play that because it shows just the fun they're having and how bulletproof Buddy is.
I'll start out.
No. I'm Batman today. I saved the day. He's still Robin.
All right, well, I'm still Robin, yes. Buttered is still who he is.
I mean, Buttered.
Harry compared you to bickering brothers. And you're the little annoying brother and you're the older brother.
And what Gary is. The clumsy one, always doing the dumbest stuff ever.
You literally wore the wrong shorts. The audacity. I respect Buttered so much because he knows whatever I'm saying.
My name is Buddy.
But that's short for Buttered.
We had to make sure he got his joy back because somehow he lost his joy. We're not going to say where he lost his joy, but somehow he lost his joy.
Why do you keep doing this? Do you even know what these are called? What are they called?
2 fingers. Are we done?
No.
Oh, no.
Wow.
I'll start out.
No.
Just great stuff. Also, that story, I didn't notice it in the game, but apparently Buddy did show up in wrong shorts yesterday on the floor, like not into the locker room, came out of the locker room, had the wrong shorts on, and then realized he had to shift them, which is incredible. To finish the bad blood, I'll do this part fast. Rudy Gobert and Draymond Green, holy shit. I knew that there was bad blood, but not how far back it went. 2013, Rudy is drafted before Draymond. Draymond has memorized that list of players. We've heard that in a lot of players, a lot of places. So one of those people that he has always hated, Rudy Gobert. 2017, Draymond's depoy. Guess who's second? Rudy Gobert. 2019, Rudy cries about not going to the All-Star game. What does Dre do? Tweets out, I guess I should cry too. No Charlotte? 2024, Dre fights Rudy. Grabs him from behind. You may remember, Mark, drags him around the Chase Center floor after he went after Klay Thompson. And then right when you thought it couldn't be shittier, Warriors get eliminated. Draymond gets hired onto TNT to be an analyst. And then as he is present at the Timberwolves arena, the Timberwolves crowd starts chanting, Draymond sucks. To which Draymond replies on air, Rudy sucks, not me. So just a whole lot of fuck you between these two teams. So you got my attention, man. That's my elevator pitch.
Can I point out that for the second time in the history of Jimmy Butler's life, he dragged a bunch of reserves to beat the Minnesota starters?
Do you know if Scott is still the GM? I don't know who the GM is in Minnesota, but I'd love the idea that if he made eye contact with him, it's like, I beat you motherfuckers again. Like, let's go.
I mean, Pat Spencer out there doing his best Kareem impression with that. I could not believe when that thing went in. It was like, that's it, we're done.
Dude, that was way more Pods than it was Kareem. There's no doubt Pods handed him that. Like, here's the guard hook mantle. Like, you go ahead and see what you can do with this.
By the way, this has just been burning up in me the whole time. Mark, I don't know if you heard yet, Bram and I are doing a spinoff show. We both have an extreme love for professional hacky sack. And this is the best time to announce that we're doing the new hacky sack huddle. It's going to be great.
I've already bought a shirt and a hat that I'll be wearing at the same time when we do the pod. It's a whole thing. It's a whole thing.
So Raymond Maxime, who's the Jimmy in this dynamic? Who's the buddy in this dynamic?
Neither of us get to be Steph, you asshole. Like, I mean, holy shit. There's like a whole different thing here. I'll take Buddy. Although no, I'm way too sensitive to be Buddy. I would pretend like things didn't bother me, but by like the 6th or 7th time, I'm at home crying. You know, like I wouldn't like the buttered thing, like that. All of that shit would 100% hit me in the wrong place. So I'm forcing myself into the Jimmy role, unfortunately enough.
Yeah, but I don't think I could be nearly as like Buddy with the 2 fingers. Like that dude is just so funny.
For those who didn't watch the video, what he was talking about is the quotation marks thing people do when they speak. And he did that multiple times and then apparently did not know the phrase quotation marks. Gentlemen, here's a question I answered last week, but we didn't have either of you when we did. What player will Golden State fan learn to sports hate before the end of this series?
Well, I was gonna come out and say, and maybe Golden State fan already knows this, but Naz Reid, I think we already hate him. He's a Warriors killer. And then there was a moment in that 4th quarter when it was like, uh-oh, here he comes, right? They cut it down to 9 off of a couple of incredible Naz Reid plays. And I'm like, if this motherfucker like ruins our 20-point lead, I'm going to shit a brick.
He has such an interesting release because it starts from way down low. It's almost his belt line, but he gets it off really quickly. And that combination you don't see too often, especially with someone who's like 6'10".
I'm going to say Julius Randle because he's a physical guy. He and Draymond Green actually do have some history. It's very understated, but I think it could be bubbling up on the surface. And it relates to some of my perspective here. When Julius Randle was a rookie with the Lakers, and this is in the context, well, technically his second season because he had a season-ending injury like his first year in the league. Preseason game, they're playing the Warriors, and Julius goes past Draymond, and he says, he can't guard me. And I actually talked to Draymond about this during Luke Walton's first year coaching the Lakers, because Luke Walton was trying to talk to Julius about not that he could become the next Draymond Green, but really model your game after him of being this really great defender, unique playmaker. So Luke, because of his time as a Warriors assistant with Steve Kerr, was really using these Warrior prototypes to inspire some of the young players. So Draymond told me at that time that when he saw the footage of this preseason game, he asked the Warriors video scouting department to cut up every single Julius Randle play so that he would be better prepared for the defensive matchup. And he also threw to me, which I've never clarified with him, but I think to this day he was doing this to troll him and maybe feed him with false confidence. He predicted that Julius Randle will wind up having a better career than him by the time it's all said and done. And I think he really was doing that as, oh, here's this young guy. I'm going to feed him some compliments to soften him up.
Love Draymond.
Fast forward now, Julius Randle's a vet. He's been around with different teams. He's a good all-star player. He has some strengths as a playmaker, his intensity, but he also has some weaknesses of allowing the emotions to get the best of him and not always making the best decisions. I think Draymond's going to get in his head a little bit, and there's going to be some intense moments.
Let's go. I hope so. In fact, you know what? I'm going to take this moment to nominate Julius Randle into the Morgan Freeman All-Stars. J.K. Simmons is a guy like this too. There are people in my life who have always looked more than 35 years old. It doesn't matter. Like, just from the second I've seen them, like they've always looked a little. Julius Randle 100% looks that way. I mean, it just is what it is. Random observation for me. My player here was Jaden McDaniels. I won't go back through the analysis, but I think it's a good take. Okay, before you guys tell me who you think will win and why, okay, I'm going to give you just some random predictions. You tell me if you agree or don't. All right, I think Jimmy goes for at least 40 or more in the game.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree. Not every game, but there will be a Jimmy effing Butler playoff Jimmy game.
Okay, let's go. I think Draymond Green will not get a flagrant foul this series.
Well, wait a minute. Sorry. Actually, can we clarify the rule? Because I think it is important. Draymond is a habitual Lion Walker or whatever, right? He played, he came back in with 3 minutes to go with 5 fouls and managed to hold on in game 7. Is it 3 flagrants and then you're out for a game? Because he already has 1, right?
Great question. I do not know. I don't remember what the background rule is. So me saying this is not based on, he's right up against the line and I think he'll know it. Me saying this is because I think Mark is right. I think that Draymond, especially now, knows that he is going to have to rile these guys up. But when that's his goal, not Houston was instinctual.
Right.
They were nasty. You're just reacting immediately. I don't think this is going to be instinctual. I think this is going to be purposeful. And I think no one is better at understanding exactly where the line is while he's watching it. So, for what it's worth, I say no flagrant. It sounds like neither of you guys agree.
I can't agree. I mean, it's Draymond Green we're talking about. It's Rudy Gobert that he's going to match up with. Some of the emotions are going to spill out at some point. I think while you're all talking, I'll look up the numbers. I believe Draymond has 4 technicals right now. So it's not like he's coming up to the line anytime close. Yeah. So if he exceeds that, all of a sudden it's 2016 over again against Cleveland. But yeah, I mean, I think it's inevitable because of how Draymond played against Houston, because he's the heartbeat of the team. Sometimes he doesn't know any better, and it's Rudy Gobert. That's a really strong ingredient to guarantee that he's going to have a flagrant at some point this season or this series.
We'll see.
Well, I actually, in the Steph Curry, Draymond Green era, they've never gone out in the second round, right? This is the closest that we've gotten without getting to the finals, right? Since they were on the squad. And I could see us getting close.
Lakers beat us in the second round.
Right, in the second round. Yeah, that's right. Shit, fuck the Lakers.
Yeah, exactly right.
But it's that thing where, Draymond will be poised, will know how to play the game the right way until his back is up against the wall and he starts to see, oh my gosh, I could be getting sent home pretty soon. And then we might see the wheels fall off a little bit.
And it's a little inconsistent for me to spend 8 minutes in this podcast and be like, who hates each other? Rudy and Draymond Green. But he's not going to get emotionally involved. So, I might have gone a little further. Okay, 2 more. Yeah. I say the Warriors can win another game without Steph. Not can, will.
I agree.
Mark?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, let's go. Doubt. Which leads to my last one, Warriors in 7.
Oh!
Yep. All right, here's what I want. Here's the path to how I'm getting here. Not just out of nowhere passion bullshit. They need, so some things have to fall their way. Fall way number 1, Steph comes back in that week. Okay, this isn't longer than missing games 2, 3, and 4. We get him back by game 5. Open question, but that's what I hope for. Thing number 2, what we just all agreed on. During these next 3 games, the Warriors win 1. So if it's not in Minnesota, fine. Just win 1, which means when Steph comes back, what is it? It's 2-2. Now, step number 3, they win a best of fucking 5. Or I'm sorry, a best of 3. Let's go. Do I feel like those things are impossible? No, I do not feel like they're impossible. So I can't look at game 1 and tell you that Ant Edwards is not going to hit a shot in every first half. Of course not. I know who he is. We're going to take some punches here. This is a very good team. I was very worried about them. But the idea that Steph being out for a week buries us, I call bullshit, especially when you have personal history with Jimmy Butler. He remembers this team. And if you're screaming nasty stuff at him, let's go, man. Let's go. So there you go. There's my prediction. You guys tell me. Do you agree?
Maybe we'll ramp up to Mark. I mean, Bram, I don't know if you were paying attention. I gave you my prediction earlier, and you just decided to make this a whole segment after the fact.
Pretended like it didn't happen.
Clearly you stole my take because I was talking about the best of 3 series, whatever. It doesn't matter because I'm gonna give you a bonus prediction right here. You ready? Steph is not coming back in this series because we won it in 4. No, I'm kidding. No, I'm still gonna say Minnesota in 6. And look, That doesn't mean that I don't think the Warriors can win. I absolutely agree with you. We just saw that they can win a game 7 in Houston with a lot of emotion. I don't think this series is going to be nearly as emotional as it was. And that sort of plays to our strengths, right? We're a very poised basketball team, very capable of winning a game. But like I said earlier, Anthony Edwards is going to figure us out over the course of this series. He looked fucking amazing, even though he wasn't hitting in the first half at all. By the time things started to turn on, it's like, my God, that guy jumps off of the screen. They have the size to kind of punish us. Rudy Gobert is obnoxious, but can do a lot of the things that we unfortunately cannot do around the rim. So I'm going to give it to the Wolves. I do think that they're the better team. I think they're better rested. I think Jimmy Butler's ass injury, as you called it, I think that's the technical term, Bram, is going to come back to bite us a little bit. He looked exhausted. Did you see that? One of the staffers was coming to talk to him with a couple minutes to go, and he's just like, "Don't talk to me. I'm too tired. I can't handle it." That's that energy that's like, yo, like, this is going to come back to get us. Brian Windhorst reported that Steph running in game 7, it was the longest he has ever run, as they've been tracking him, was like just under 2 miles in a single basketball game. Like, that's why he's pulling his hamstring. The 7-game series is going to come back to bite us in the end. I hope not. I'm going to be rooting for Golden State the whole time, and maybe this is some copium because Steph is out, and so it's even scarier to think that we might win it. But I'm calling Wolves in 6.
Intellectual honesty. Also, I better not ever see you wearing a Warriors hat and shirt at the same time. You do not deserve it, Maxime. You keep it off your body.
Hey, Bram, you're going to like my answer, but you're also going to dislike my answer.
Okay.
Okay, well, you say Warriors in 7. It sounds like, hey, you're a true Warrior fan or optimistic. I actually question your Warriors fandom and think you got to prove it otherwise by following David Putty's lead and painting your face, because I'm taking Warriors in 6.
Let's go, Mark. Go, Mark.
I'm going to fill in the ending. I'll outline the ending, and then I'll fill in the details. Wolves are going to win in game 2. Warriors win game 3 and 4. Wolves win in game 5. Warriors close out in 6. So here's how it happens.
Whoa.
Game 2, it's the bounce back game. It's, everything coming back down to earth. The Warriors can't sustain playing without Steph as they did in game 1. Anthony Edwards is going to have a bounce back performance, and they have the home crowd on their side. That will affect both the atmosphere and the whistle. The Warriors, game 3, they're going to start feeling the urgency. So they do the all hands on deck. It's Chase Center all of a sudden turning into Oracle Arena crowd. Jimmy Butler doing playoff Jimmy performances, but it's everyone else elevating their game similar to the way it did in game 1. Game 4, they're not able to replicate that because it's very hard to do. So this is when we see Jimmy Butler doing what he did with the Miami Heat in the bubble against the Lakers in the championship, and as an 8th seed against the Denver Nuggets, where this team has no business winning the game, but they do because Jimmy Butler is just so effing great. So they're up 3-1. Game 5, they can't sustain in Minnesota for obvious reasons, and also their backs are against the wall. They got the fan atmosphere, so the Wolves get game 5. Game 6, Warriors close it out because they have time to regroup, and that also coincides for when Steph Curry comes back. Now, he's not going to be rushed back, but we're not going to see the greatest of Steph Curry's performances because he just came back, but we're going to see a respectable performance, as well as everyone else having the attitude that even though Steph Curry is back, they have to play with the kind of urgency that he's not back, so they're not putting all the burden on him. So I'm not only confident how the series is going to turn out, Warriors in 6, I'm confident each game synopsis that I outlined there is going to play out exactly the way it happens.
I just want to compliment you on all the things you said on Fox Sports Radio when you took back the things about the Lakers. I mean, you're always right. And so you were 100% right here again. Let's fucking go, Mark. Here, I'm going to repeat what both of you have already said and that I was too stupid to realize right now. This is very literally what playoff Jimmy is, right? I mean, like that. Playoff Jimmy isn't playoff Robin. That's not, he didn't get this reputation because he was the second best player on the floor and doing things with the team that everybody thought was going to happen. Well, playoff Jimmy was taking people who everyone universally said, no, that team can't go anywhere. Where are they going? He did it apparently in a Minnesota practice, and then he did it in fucking Miami. That this is what that nickname came from. It happened so often they had to give it a nickname. So, uphill climb, but if you had to pick somebody, looking at past performance is a pretty good fucking indication, and he has done it. So great point by both of you guys. I'm in. Let's fucking go. There's a shot here. Mark, We missed you. I'd love having you on. Certainly no exception today. People need way more Medina in their life. Where do they go?
Well, as you mentioned in the intro, there's a lot of different outlets. So I'll just start first with social, Twitter, Blue Sky, Mark_Medina. Okay, writing. We got Sportskeeda, Athlon Sports, RG.org, radio, Fox Sports Radio, all their national shows, TV, CBS LA with Jim Hill in LA, Spectrum Sportsnet in LA, and on the podcast, of course, Warriors Huddle.
Oh, we appreciate you, Mark. You guys know where we're at. What we have been really trying to underline recently is the Patreon feed. We will give you something. Of course, it's ad-free. There's other perks. Check it out. Go look at it. You can see what we're offering, but you're also giving us a ton. This is, as you heard in a personal ad, this is a passion project for us. But being able to do it on a consistent basis means the world. And the only way we can do that is with your guys' help. So please help. Go to Patreon. Search out Warriors Huddle, and you can help us for very little. With that in mind, check out our YouTube page. Go Warriors! Hopefully, see you real soon.